A few years ago, I was looking through an old Rotary forum when I came across a thread about a twin-engine Mazda 929 that raced in Australia during the 1980s. I was always intrigued by the idea and sought out the original owner Graham Smith to find out more about the car, as there is very little information or pictures on the internet. Graham regularly raced through the 1970s in Minis, Tiranas and other Rotary Mazdas. With the arrival and success of Alan Moffat's RX-17 in the early 80s, Graham decided that was going to be the most competitive bang-for-buck car to build next. Graham went into the Mazda dealer that sold the racing shells to order a new RX-7 Motorsport shell. The dealer said there weren't any in stock and that they could order one in for him. But the dealer then said, "If you don't want to wait, we have these," and showed Graham two brand new stripped out Mazda 929 Coupe race shells that were being offered at a heavily discounted price. The dealer explained they were originally for Alan Moffat as a different touring car option. Australian Muscle Car magazine interviewed Alan Horsley, who revealed that the Moffat team at the time were looking at homologating a Mazda 929 for touring car racing in Australia. The 929 did end up being homologated, but as a Group A touring car and only ran in Europe as a four-door. Graham could see potential in the 929 coupe body. It was low, wide and had independent rear suspension. Graham fitted his 300 horsepower 13B peripheral port from his previous RX-3 race car, an alloy cage, and built the rest of the 929 more like a touring car than a sport sedan. Graham explains that touring cars of the era were just as quick as mid-pack sport sedans on most tracks and even quicker than front-running sport sedans at Bathurst. So he decided to not mess around too much with the 929 chassis, so it retained much of its factory rear end, steel panels and suspension, albeit modified. Around 1986, Graham was testing the 929 at Winton alongside the factory Nissan Group A team. Graham followed George Fury around for a few laps, admiring the way the independent rear end was working, before deciding he was going too slow and passed him. The 929 ended up with a Nissan connection, as Graham used wheels from one of the Bluebird Group C race cars on the 929. Graham ran the car as a conventional front-engine floor-pan sport sedan with steel panels for several years and enjoyed success in the car, winning his category for Victorian sport sedans 2 years in a row. Around 1987-1988, Graham wanted more power and went to CAMS to seek approval to run a 3-rotor turbo. Graham did some sums and worked out it was just going to be too expensive. So Graham instead lobbied CAMS to run a second rotary engine connected to the front one. Incredibly, CAMS agreed and signed off on the modifications. Graham cut the firewall out of the 929 and fitted a second 13B inside the car behind the front peripheral port engine. The rear 13B being a bridge port which put out around 280 horsepower. The engines were mated together with a Porsche CV joint, which Graham explains is a flat CV. A special coupling for the engines was also made up so the engines didn't have to be perfectly aligned together. Graham retained his ex-Moffat 5-speed gearbox, however he broke it 3 times before switching to a Sainz 5-speed. Graham recalls the car got pulled up by scrutineers on several occasions, but he always kept his CAMS approval letter in the logbook to quash any protests. One such time was after the car got scrutineered at Sandown. The scrutineer completely missed the second engine inside the car under the engine cover. But when Graham blasted past a highly developed Commodore V8 along the back straight at Sandown, several interstate competitors knew something was up and went over to investigate the 929. Much to their dismay, all they could see was a single, normally aspirated 13B in the engine bay. The car was then thoroughly checked by scrutineers and it became apparent the car had 2 engines but was allowed to run. Graham ran the car for several years, including on the combined Calder Park Thunderdome and road course, but began breaking CV joints in the rear end and breaking either one of the engines. The car then went down the conventional sport sedan path and the Rotaries were removed for a Chev V8. The car ran for several more years with various owners before the running gear was sold off and the shells scrapped. It was a sad end to a truly innovative sports sedan built on a shoestring budget. It is highly unlikely we will ever see a true quad rotor race in Australia, as it would need special dispensation. Graham was simply lucky at the time. Cams gave him the opportunity to build a truly special and unique car, the likes of which we probably won't see again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any suggestions for other racing videos, let me know in the comments below.
There's our fourth placed driver, number 92, Graham Smith, the Ultra Tune Mazda 929. It's missing a little as it went down the straight. He might be able to call into Ultra Tune for a quick stop.